Welcome back in the pursuit of wealth, everybody. It's Rod with Pow Group, your home for MJ Stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Today is Sunday, July 13th. Hope you're having a great weekend. And in this video, we're going to do another rapid fire news update, this time for the period July 5th to the 11th. And again, it's just a high level overview in case you missed it. And there's a lot of news this week, so we'll jump right to it. Make sure to smash the like, subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos. And I do these videos each and every week. And you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. And as always, not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. California MJ operators warn that this new tax hike could kill the industry. And you have to really start to wonder, right? Like, what is going on? Why is it taking the U.S. 7 years to legalize or see any kind of meaningful reform? We still don't have banking yet. Why is the Canadian federal government not improving excise tax? And to me, the thing that makes the most sense is that they want to make it look like it's equal opportunity, right? Everybody has the same opportunity. Mom and pop shops are, we're spinning up everywhere. And, I know tons of people as well that were getting into it, right? My friends, mom, and all this stuff, right? But those stores are dropping like flies, right? Like even Fire and Flower couldn't survive here in Canada. So the only thing that makes sense to me is that they're trying as long as possible to weed out all of the small operators, right? No pun intended. And then the big corporations, the one with deep pockets, come in and swoop in and buy them up for pennies on the dollar, and basically leaves your average Joe and Jane with nothing. And I think that's the only thing that makes sense to me. And also to allow time for the incumbents, the big alcohol, pharma, tobacco, to catch up and get their filthy, greasy paws all over this industry, right? I used to work for a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company. Like I said, that was involved in the opioid crisis. And after the opioid crisis, they were fined billions of dollars. And then they couldn't stop talking about cannabinoids and CBD for like 2 years straight. So, they're coming for this industry. Also, a study shows that THC-dominant MJ use is linked to long-term relief from anxiety and depression, as we continue to see new applications and studies emerge for this amazing miracle plant and medicine of the future. Also, U.S. House votes to allow VA doctors to recommend medicine of the future in landmark Veterans Health Bill. So, love to see that. We know the new administration is big on troops and our veterans. So, I think it makes a lot of sense that we're going to see some sort of reform soon, and we've got some additional news pertaining to that a little bit later on in the segment. Also, MJ banking will move hopefully sooner than later, says Senator, from a newsletter on July 7th, 2025. So let me just take a look here. Looks like it was it's a weird article here. It's like going on about, Doug Collins. I think that one's there, but it looks like there's like multiple different articles in one. But anyways, I think it's going to happen sooner than later, and we'll probably see it happen more than likely, I think, towards the fall or into early 2026, definitely before the midterms in the U.S. in 2026. But I think the whole reasoning for that is, they've got the Genius Act, they've got Clarity Act, Anti-CBDC Act. Those are all crypto-based. So once they get those out of the way, once they get crypto legislation, then they'll go to the next major, kind of topic and issue. And I think it's going to be MJ. I think they'll get the spotlight after that. Also, Normal reports that MJ legalization is a public health necessity. And the first thing I thought of was during the C-19, right? All of the MJ businesses were deemed essential businesses. So is the writing on the wall, folks? I would say so. Again, if this is medicine of the future and people need this, right, for their quality of life, or else it goes down drastically, then it just makes sense. Also, Florida's medical MJ patient count tops 918,000 as adult use campaign builds momentum. I think there's some serious momentum there. But we'll see if we can get some sort of federal legalization. I doubt it. I think that more than likely they would do some sort of a hybrid where they do, states' rights, that kind of thing. Also, Storz & Bickel, which is a subsidiary of Cannabis Growth, was named Equipment Provider of the Year at Business of MJ Awards 2025. So definitely bullish on Storz & Bickel. That's probably one of their crown jewels. I would say Wana and Storz & Bickel are probably the top two assets in Cannabis Growth Corporation. Also, Tilray Brands is set to announce fourth quarter and fiscal year 2025 financial results on July 28th, 2025. and that's going to be for the fiscal year ending May 31st, 2025, after market close on Monday, July 28th, 2025. So it'll be the fourth quarter and their full fiscal 2025. Some companies have different year ends, so you can bet I'll be creating a earnings prep video for that one and an earnings review, and I'll more than likely live stream the earnings call. Let me know if that's something that you would like to partake in. Also, Curaleaf Holdings announces buyout, a minority partner in Curaleaf International, and they're also set to report earnings. This is for their second quarter 2025 financial and operational results. And for the quarter ended June 30th, 2025, it's going to be after market close on August 6th, 2025. There'll also be a conference call at 5 p.m. that afternoon, Eastern Time. And let me just see here. The conference call for Tilray is going to be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, moving right along. Taking a look at MJ Moment article here. I mentioned this last week in my rapid fire news update. It's not that I can see the future or have a crystal ball. It's just that I said I was basically saying like my thought. I've seen some polls before saying somewhere around 80%, through some sort of medical support. But last week I said, it's probably closer to 90% of people in the USA that support some sort of reform. And sure enough, this was July 8th, just after I posted that video last week, and it says 9 in 10 Americans support legalizing MJ in some form, including bipartisan majorities, new poll shows. So again, folks, the writing is on the wall. We're at an inflection point, a turning point, as you can see here on MJ Biz Daily as well. I think that's very fitting. And I think we're going to get this across the finish line a lot sooner than many think. Also, speaking of Auxly, they reach a turning point themselves with closing of 2 transactions. So I've been extremely vocal and bullish on Auxly for a while now. I actually interviewed the CEO, Hugo Alves, and a lot of people have been asking me to have him back on. So once they report their next earnings, perhaps I'll reach out to them and we'll try to get something scheduled around that same time. But they closed 2 transactions intended to reduce the Canadian operator's debt and strengthen its financial position. The transaction, originally announced June 19th, extended its credit facility with Bank of Montreal and settle all debts owed to Imperial Brands, according to a Tuesday's news release. With the transaction completed, Toronto headquartered Auxly has eliminated about $21 million of debt, reduced debt service obligations by about $700,000 per year, provides a new $10 million revolving credit facility for financial flexibility to support growth, and remove the going concern uncertainty disclosed in the company financial statements in March as well as in 2022. So this is great to see. Love it. Imperial Brands has a 19.9 stake in Auxly, and they're the British tobacco giant. So I love it. They invested in 2019, and like I said, when this thing hit a penny, this is life-changing wealth, folks, and I do believe it's loading. Also, another operator that I'm super bullish on, and this looks fantastic. Can't wait to try these products out. Organigram Global scales U.S. presence with Collective Project direct-to-consumer launch in 25 states and expansion of hemp-derived THC beverage portfolio. So again, the Canadian operators are coming for the U.S., folks. So if you're thinking that it's the MSO gang and that's the only play in town, that's naive thinking. That's foolish thinking, right? There's no way. It's already happening through hemp. And it's all one plant. If it's happening with hemp, what do you think is going to happen in the future? It's all one plant, folks. It's all regulated the same here in Canada. Hemp, MJ, it's all one plant and regulated the exact same. And as we know, they have Collective Project beverages, MJ beverages in Canada as well. But this is going to be HD9, and it's going to be launching in 25 states. If you end up trying these, let me know your thoughts and opinions. I haven't tried it yet, and I'll definitely be doing a review video as soon as I do. I haven't seen any in store recently, but I also haven't been in the store very much. I've been on a hiatus at the moment. I've been almost 2 months. It'll be 9 more days, and I'll be 2 months without any MJ whatsoever. And this is the first time I've ever done that. I think the longest time I ever gone before this was like 2 weeks. And yeah, that's since I was like probably 14 years old. So I just kind of listening to my body and seeing kind of the effects. But my sleep definitely hasn't been as good. I will say that. DEA says MJ rescheduling process is still stalled 6 months into the Trump administration, but don't sweat too much. There's some news coming a little bit later, more on the positive side pertaining to that. Senior advisor to President Trump's Never Surrender PAC says it's illogical. Imagine that. It's illogical that MJ is classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Yeah, I would call it borderline stupidity. Actually, I would call it just asinine, right? Like it's again, it's not common sense. It's not because of the science. It's because of the fact that it's a threat, right? It's disrupting the status quo, right? The incumbents. So that's why I think, and like not even that, like just think of all the clothing manufacturers, right? And like the food industry and like the pharma industry. Like this is going to disrupt every part and every sector and every part of the world, like you wouldn't believe, right? We're talking, hundreds of billions of dollars annually. It's not going to be a crypto, right, where we're already at like 3 trillion, but maybe by 2035, 2040, we can get to $1 trillion market here globally for the MJ industry. But it's going to be a difficult task. But doesn't mean that there's still not a ton of opportunity, especially from a percentage gain perspective, with regards to multiplier effect and loading up on a lot of these stocks while they're cheap. Also, TerrAscend completes $79 million non-dilutive debt financing. The proceeds from the transaction were used to retire $68 million of existing debt, with the remainder designated for future growth initiatives. And I still think that Canopy Growth owns like somewhere around 13% of TerrAscend. And speaking of TerrAscend, they decide to call it quits in Michigan. This is a bit of a red flag for me. More than 250 bud tenders and other employees will lose their jobs. Not a great look. Yeah, you're paying down debt, but if you can't win at home, what makes you think you're going to win elsewhere? And it's just amazing. Like, it's crazy to think that, like I couldn't imagine like an operator in Canada expanding to a different province, expanding more in Canada, and then getting out of that market. I don't even know if that's ever happened, especially for the tier 1 producers. But I mean, I know there's a lot more states in the U.S., but there's also a lot more people. And yeah, I don't get it. Maybe it's probably because the prices are so damn high. Like I think the average for an ounce of bud in the U.S. is somewhere around $250 to $300 U.S., which is absolutely mind-boggling, insane. Like I would never pay anywhere close to that. Maybe not even half of that. You can get like quad A, amazing quality bud here in Canada for like 150, 180, and that's like 125 U.S. So. It just makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, some people are defending it, saying, "Oh, well, they're getting out because they're not, they're focusing on profitability and higher margins." It's like, yeah, but why couldn't they be profitable, and why didn't they have higher margins? It's just, yeah, it's a red flag for me. So I'd just be cautious with a lot of these companies that are, backing out of certain markets, and a lot of these. LPs, right, and even Curaleaf. I think Curaleaf has the biggest footprint in the U.S. in the most states, and it purchased Northern Green Canada, so it's an LP as well, so it's a producer in Canada, and they have operations internationally, right? Think of Germany, UK, and Poland. So I think maybe even Portugal, but yeah, they're all over the place, just like Tilray. It's kind of the closest thing to Tilray. Tilray operates in over 20 countries, but just imagine not being able to survive in like 10 states in the US and having to get out. It just doesn't sit well with me. Anyways, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Trulieve is set to report second quarter 2025 results in conference call on August 6, 2025. And that's going to be on, let me just see here. Top performing, we'll hold a conference call Wednesday, August 6th at 8:30 a.m. So it must be in the morning. Yeah. 8:30 a.m. Eastern time following the release. So yeah, it looks like it's coming out in the morning. The results as conference calls then as well. And it says following the release of its results. So we'll be keeping tabs on that one as well. Canopy Growth appoints Tom Stewart as interim CFO. So it looks like this is just a stopgap, and they're seeking somebody to replace more permanently. But maybe Tom ends up becoming the more permanent one. But as of right now, it's interim. Also, Canopy Growth launches deep space infused pre-rolls. I haven't seen these yet, but we'll see how this is received by consumers. Also, Vireo Health refinances senior secured debt through a $120 million loan. The MJ company has also expanded its consolidated credit facilities with an additional $33 million second lien term loan. All right, moving right along. Nearly 1 in 12, this study says nearly 1 in 12 cancer survivors use marijuana with higher rates in legal states. Also, I've noticed I can kind of say that word now and show it on the screen and even the picture of it. It looks like the algorithm doesn't seem to care too much on YouTube, and doesn't demonetize my videos. It used to be like 80 to 90% of my my MJ videos didn't get monetized, meaning I didn't make any money, which is another example and proof of why I wasn't here to make money, like a lot of different influencers and YouTubers. But the fact that that's starting to happen is a great sign that we're approaching critical mass, and we're on the brink of something very, very large and historic in the US, and just a sign of the times, in my opinion. Also, the Cannabis company to report second quarter 2025 results on August 7th, and that will be before US financial markets open. And then they'll do the conference call at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. AWH to hold second quarter 2025 earnings conference call on Thursday, August 7th. We have bipartisan Pennsylvania senators file much anticipated MJ legalization bill as the state in the country looks to become the 25th in the country to legalize at the recreational level. And who knows, might be a few more not shortly thereafter, and then we could probably expect Florida at some point soon. And Florida, once that goes legal, when it goes legal, not if, that's going to be the biggest market, in my opinion, in the U.S. Also, SNDL to announce second quarter 2025 financial results on July 1st. Sorry, yeah, we're going to go back in time. July 31st. So announced today it will release its second quarter. This is for a period June 30th, 2025 ending. And that's going to be before the market opens on Thursday, July 31st. And they'll have the conference call at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll be covering that one as well. So as we know, SNDL kind of spooked a lot of investors. That's why the stock had really plummeted. It has since kind of recovered a little bit, but a little lackluster compared to some of the other names out there. But a lot of people are wondering why SNDL's performance hasn't been great, and how come it hasn't seen as big of a move recently compared to its peers. Again, I think it's because they spooked investors and the market and the sector in general, basically saying that they're going to be reviewing their listing, right? Their listings for their stock. So basically that means they might look to delist from the NASDAQ and just basically trade on the OTC and the Toronto Stock Exchange, and then enter the US market. So it would be perceived as good and bad, because people who own it on the NASDAQ, they're like, well, I'd have to sell my shares and I don't have access. My broker doesn't allow access to the Toronto Stock Exchange or OTC. So yeah, a lot of people are probably just spooked by that. So that's what I think that is there. But we'll see if we can get some meaningful reform, some sort of safe harbor, and language in some sort of bill saying that they're able to uplist. That would give the NASDAQ confidence to go ahead and start uplisting these companies. Also, Smart and Safe Florida raises over $21 million for 2026 MJ legalization campaign. And yeah, we'll see if we can get that across the finish line. Trulieve also partners with Redemption MJ to launch purpose-led products in West Virginia. Senate committee passes hemp killing legislation, but it also gives hemp businesses 1 year delay. So yeah, a lot of people are wondering, like, what's this all about? Well, you can't just say, we're banning it. It's banned now, right? You got to give some sort of a delay. You got to give some sort of grace period, right, where these businesses can get their ducks in a row. But at the end of the day, again, hemp, cannabis, marijuana, it's all one plant. So we need to regulate it like one plant, right? The same, just like Canada. Almost 7 years legal here in Canada. It's all treated the same. So maybe they know something is potentially coming with regards to bills and legislation. So, if we get some sort of clarity from Congress or the federal government, essentially, then this might even kind of supersede that. So we'll see what happens here. There's a lot of time to get something done, a whole year. And like I said, I do think we're going to see rescheduling. We've got some information on that in just a moment as well. But like I said, a lot of news this week. Also, ICE raids California MJ farms operated by state licensed business as part of larger immigration crackdown. And then the feds also accuse state licensed MJ farm of employing minors, as White House dismisses criticism of raid. So the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is accusing a California MJ business of employing minors at a grow facility that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, raided on Thursday. An allegation the state license operator is denying following the enforcement action. So this had to do with it was Senator or Commissioner Rodney Scott. There were juveniles found in the MJ facility, almost all unaccompanied, one as young as 14. California, are you ready to partner with us to stop child exploitation? And Glass House which was named in it. Glasshouse Farms were visited today by ICE officials. The company fully complied with agent search warrants and will provide further updates if necessary. But essentially, they denied any involvement or knowing about this. So we'll see what happens. It's not a good look, that's for sure. It doesn't look good. At the end of the day, you definitely have to be cautious with some of these names. Yeah, and like I couldn't imagine like seeing something like this with like a Curaleaf or a Tilray. It just would never happen. They like whenever I try to interview some of these companies, right? Like they want to review the questions and like they want to get their lawyers at everything. Like there's so much red tape and there's so much compliance first mentality that they would just never let themselves be in a position to even if they weren't at fault. And there was some other overarching reason. They wouldn't even be caught 1,000, 10,000 feet around it. Just not worth the risk, right? And we'll see what comes out of that. That's going to be an interesting story as it develops. Also, Canada now home to nearly 3,800 licensed MJ stores. A look at the country's expanding retail market. Nearly 7 years after legal marijuana sales began in Canada's retail cannabis market, it has grown to include 3,761 licensed stores across every province and territory. That's got to be more than McDonald's, I would think. That's a staggering number, and it's only going to get bigger. Ontario just doubled its store count from 75 to 150. So what does that tell you right there? Canada's most populous province. Also, anti-MJ group. This is the news of the week right here, folks. Anti-MJ group SAM, stupid approaches to marijuana, says President Trump is poised to reschedule marijuana, says decision could come any day now. One of the nation's most prominent anti-marijuana organizations, so Smart Approaches to Marijuana, SAM, says the Trump administration is on the verge of officially rescheduling marijuana, a move that could be announced at any moment. And I do think that, we could see it any week now, but again, we're really seeing crypto industry heat up. It's going to be crypto week this week, crypto and blockchain week in the US this week. So I think the media, the focus is going to be on that, at least for the next week or so. And then I think MJ will be in the spotlight and they could get rescheduling done into maybe even September, but looking like it's going to be into the fall, in my opinion. Also, former NFL star talks marijuana rescheduling with top Trump administration officials, and that was at a White House meeting. And that was none other than former NFL player turned advocate Ricky Williams as he discussed reform with high-level staffers across multiple agencies at the White House as part of a broader meeting that touched on cannabis. So again, gaining a lot of momentum. I don't think, so many people are just like, well, it's getting a lot of attention from celebrities. This time has to be different. No, it doesn't matter what celebrities say, folks. We had one presidential candidate running for office saying she wanted to legalize it recreationally at the federal level, and the other side of the administration that won here on the screen said they supported safer banking, rescheduling, Amendment 3, so legalization in Florida, medical, so they said it's been nothing short of amazing. So it doesn't matter what an athlete is saying or a celebrity. The two presidential candidates that just both ran to become the president of the United States were both in favor of it. So that's all the clue that we need, in my opinion. We don't need Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson didn't even know what it was scheduled. I think when he was first asked, he thought it was on Schedule 2. So it just goes like they're no help, folks. If you're relying on these people, you're probably going to be let down. But again, we don't need to look past anything further than the fact that the two people running to be president of the United States, one wanted to legalize it recreationally at the federal level, and the other one supported a myriad of different and reform initiatives. So times are a-changing, and it's looking good. Let me know what you think of this news in the comment section. We'll continue the conversation there, though. It's Rod with Pal Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you in the next one.